Hi there everybody and welcome back to the Turn Cycling YouTube channel. It has been a long time and I realise I keep saying that at the start of pretty much every video, so we are going to get back to more consistency in the videos. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to set up tubeless tyres. We were having a chat on the WhatsApp group I have with all my clients, and we were talking about the benefits of running tubeless tyres. But the fact that a lot of people just don't really know where to start, and I figured it would be a really good idea to have a quick run through of how I set up tubeless tyres. Now, there are a couple of different ways of doing it, whether you leave valves in or take valves out and pour the gunk in before or afterwards. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through my complete setup, including a few tips and tricks that I use in order to make sure that you get them fully inflated every time. Now, just before we start, it took me quite a few years to get this right. I've been running tubeless for 4 years now, and to be honest, I would not go back. Running tubeless is amazing because you can run lower tyre pressures, which increases your comfort, and in a lot of cases decreases your rolling resistance and so improves your speed. But also you just don't suffer from as many punctures. I've been racing, I've done all of my ultra races on tubeless tyres, and I've had to put a tube in once in 11 races, about 16,000 kilometers of racing. So for me, it's really is a no-brainer, but it does take time to learn how to fit them without spraying sealant everywhere and causing sealant explosions. There were certainly a few times where I had to go running into a shop at the last minute with like an hour to close before closing on a Friday. Not Friday, I was in Dubai, Thursday. There were a number of times I would go running into shops just before they closed, desperate to use their compressor to get a tubeless tyre to seat. But we're going to run through all of that today. I'll show you everything I do to get this working. So if you've got any questions about this, leave comments below. If you like this kind of in-depth technical video, again, let me know below, and then I can keep doing them for you. And if you do like it, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. I am really trying hard to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can start doing YouTube live stuff when I'm out on those races, which I know you all love to see the live footage when I'm out racing. Right. First up, let's talk about the equipment that we need. I have a set of wheels here. These happen to be, this is a set of Hunt 650Bs. Thank you to Gavin up at Button Up Bikes in North London, Crouch End. Go check them out. Really good bunch of guys there doing service. Anyway, they're building a set of 650B wheels for me, which are going to be some Salt carbon rims on Hope hubs, and they're going to look amazing. But in the meantime, Gavin has kindly lent me his pair of Hunt 650Bs. So we have a set of wheels. We need a set of tyres, and for this we have the Vittoria Mezcal 2.25 inch. I'm going to talk about these in a separate video because we're going to do a ride review on these. But these are some super fat off-road tyres which are going to be used for the North and South Downs Escapade event, which I'm doing in about 10 days time. 75% off-road all around the southeast of England, so this is going to give me some really nice bump compliance, lots of grip, lots of comfort and lots of speed. So we have wheels, we have tyres. One tyre lever is all you really need. Unless you're having difficulty getting your old tyres off. One pair of scissors for cutting rim tape. One knife, which I will be using for poking a carefully constructed hole in the rim tape. I need rim tape. Hang on. Rim tape, come back to that in a minute. And valves. I'm going to fit some nice swanky new red ones Kind of wanted some orange ones to go with the general turn cycling colour scheme, but couldn't find any of those, so never mind. And finally, but very much not least, some sealant, some gunk to go in the tyres, and this is really what stops you getting, or stops you suffering from punctures, because this will go in and seal any holes that you get in your tyres. If you get a thorn in there, you pull it out, this seals it. I'm going to talk at a later stage about what to do if you're if you have a puncture that the sealant won't seal. There's a few things that you can use to kind of deal with that, but we'll go into those on a different video. For now, we're going to talk about fitting. Right, I'm going to be fitting everything from scratch this time round. So the starting point is a not brand new, but a clean rim. I've taken the valves out. I've taken all the old rim tape off. Clearly Gavin has been using these for years and just topping up the rim sealant because they were a mess. Anyway, now they're nice and clean. All the old rim tape's been taken out. Now, if you are fitting a new set of tyres and you're not replacing the rim tape, or at least you're trying not to, sometimes it can be difficult to get the tyre to seat. So by that I mean inflate the tyre fast enough so that the air forces the bead of the tyre, which is, let me just show you. The bead of the tyre is basically the little ridgy bit at the end of the rubber, which snaps into place and forms part of the seal. Now, it can be hard to inflate them quick enough to get that to grip and to seat, and you'll know when it's done because it'll make a big pinging noise. So the first tip is, if you are struggling to get that to happen and you've left in your old rim tape, then replace the rim tape, because what it does is it then sits a bit higher, it's not been forced down by the pressure, and that just creates a little bit more of a seal and makes it easier for you to inflate and get that tyre to seat and the bead to seat properly. So yeah, if in doubt, always replace the rim tape. So the first job is going to be to fit that rim tape. Now I've got some 25mm rim tape here. This is, I think it's pretty much the same size as the old one. The old one might have been 23mm. Either way, it's slightly wider than the inside width of the rim, which is what you want. If you have it narrower, then again, as the pressure goes into the tyre, it can push the rim tape down towards the spoke holes, and it can just create small gaps if your rim tape isn't fat enough. So yeah, if you can, get rim tape that's wider, or just a little bit wider than the internal width of your rim. So you can see here, let's see if we can show you that. See if you'll focus. Yeah, we can just about see it's a little bit wider. Yeah, I may ideally possibly 23 for this instead of 25, but this will, if in doubt, wider rather than thinner. And then basically, very simply, what we're going to do is push it down and stick it to the rim bed. Now what I do is, you can see here we've got the hole for the valve. So the valve is not in at the moment because we've got spoke here, and then there's the valve hole there. Okay, so what I want to do is start just this side of the valve hole, and I'm going to stick it down. Now it should just click in. On these rims, these have got a hook, so it should just kind of click in past the hook. And I'm just going to go through. Hopefully you can see that. What I really need here is a camera assistant. So I'm just going to go all the way around, pushing that down into the rim, like so. Now this is special rim tape for tubeless tyres, in that this will form an airtight seal when the tyre sits against it, and when the sealant is in there as well. So we're just going to keep going. I'm going to sit down. You've seen enough of that now. So yeah, so I'm just going to carry on going round. Now, here we're getting back to the beginning again, so you can see where I started it. Now, I know for a fact that the rim, the valve hole is here, so we want to go all the way around, probably another 5 to 10 centimeters beyond that valve hole. So let's carry on sticking down. And then this is where the scissors come in. Just going to cut the tape like so, and then we're just going to stick that last bit down like so. And again, what you can see, it's kind of pretty hard to see there on the camera, but what you should be able to see is that that's now all slid in to the rim. And you see me through there? Maybe not. And it's not sticking out onto the actual hook of the rim wall, but it's just tucked kind of back under the hook. Now, if you're running hookless, which my new rims will be, then obviously you're not going to see that tucked behind the hook, but never mind. And I'm just going to run my fingers along, make sure that that is all nicely secured, and I'm just checking round just to make sure it looks well stuck in. Right. Now, if you don't have rim tape that's wide enough, another really good idea that you can do, or a trick, so trick number 2 is put 2 layers of rim tape in, and put one rim tape strip off to the left and then the second strip off to the right. That way you cover both sides of the tyre wall, or sorry, of the rim wall, and allows you to get away with the fact that you don't have wide enough rim tape. So if I only had 21mm rim tape, I would put 2 layers on this, and I would go round once, butt it up one side, and then round against up the other side, and that will create that good seal. Sometimes it's good if I'm doing a race, like a long race, if I'm doing something like TCR or Inca Divide, then I would probably double wrap the rim tape anyway, because better safe than sorry, so double bag your rim tape. Right, now that's the rim tape done. The next thing I need to do is get the valve cores on. Sorry, the tubeless valve. So you can use a knife. Another really useful thing to use is like a metal cooking skewer. They can make it really easy to get the hole put in. Basically what I now need to do is, this is where the valve needs to go through. So I need to make a small hole in the rim tape so it passes through. But rim tape can kind of split and tear quite easily, so you've got to be really careful when you make that hole not to put like a wide split into the rim tape, which then propagates around the tyre, and then you get a leaky tyre, which nobody likes, a leaky tyre. So what I do is I find the hole, which is there. I'll then take this and come down pretty much right on top of it and get it in the right place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run that backwards and forwards to make sure I've got the roundest hole possible and that I'm not splitting that rim tape. Let's do that nice and slowly. That should do. It doesn't need to be a big hole, just really big enough so that you can push the initial bit of the valve head through. So hopefully, can you see that hole? It's pretty small. Are you going to focus there? There we go. There's the little hole, okay? Now, if you do split the rim tape and it doesn't seem to be working, then you can just stick like a 20 centimeter piece of rim tape over the top and then remake the hole. That's quite an effective way of doing it if you do split the rim tape, or if you realize that actually it's leaking around the valve, like when you blow it up, get the bead snapped into place, you put the sealant in and everything. If it's still leaking out by the valve hole, then you probably put a little split in there. So deflate it, take the tyre off carefully so you don't lose the sealant, stick some more, or clean it down, dry it down, a little bit more rim tape, and then remake the hole, and that should hopefully work. Right, onto my shiny red anodized valves. Okay. Now, what's really cool about these muck-off ones is they come with kind of normal valve heads there. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? There we go. It's focusing on me. There we go. Focus on that. There we go. It's got a normal valve head, but then also it's got a special one with a hole in it. And the hole in it is a valve removal sized hole. So I can put that in and use that to take the valve out. Now I'm not going to take the valve out, and I shall explain why. You get two different kinds of pumps work best in different ways. The pump that I've got, which is a Joe Blow booster. Yeah, it's a Joe Blow booster. Basically has a big charging canister on the side. I did a review on it. Go check out the review. Don't listen to me here now. Go check out the other review. It's brilliant. It's an amazing pump. But that works best with the valve core left in. Other ones, I've got the Schwalbe kind of charging canister thing. That works best if you take the valve core out. So it's all about learning what works best for the pump that you've got. So I'm going to leave the valve core in. First of all, I've got to take off this bit. Now, if you're a road racer, they often don't bother with those little bits there to keep the valve on. They just stick it down with a bit of tape. But we need to create an effective seal. And what you can see here is I've got a little rubber dongly bit there. So we want to make sure that this goes back on. It's an important part. No saving weight on that. Okay, now hopefully you can see the hole there. And there's the valve. Are you focusing there? Now I've made sure everything's screwed down tight. And then what I'm doing is I'm just going to slowly screw that backwards and forwards in the hole. It'll make it a little bit bigger as I go, being really careful not to split. There we go. And then once you're through, it will then continue to push through. And then through we go. Done. Right, that's the valve on. And then rubber dongly bit goes back on. And then that goes back on as well. Then I like to screw this down quite nice and tight because that forms part of the seal. And you want that to seal nicely straight from the off. So there we go. Oh, that slipped out a bit. That's not right. Oh, no, looking good. Right. Okay. Done. And you can see that's now firmly attached in place. Okay, on to the tyre. Try not to break the other one as well. Okay. Now, a traditional pro tip was to always align the writing on the tyre with the valve cap, or with the valve. The reason being is that if you got a puncture, you could then feel around inside to where the thorn was, and then you would know roughly where to look on the inner tube. Not quite as necessary when you're tubeless, however it still looks pretty cool. So we're gonna, why fight years of tradition? So I think, I don't think Siri needs to call anybody. So we're going to line it over the C of the mezcal, because then that's nicely aligned and appeals to my OCD, which I don't really have, to be honest. Right. So first of all, I'm going to put the tyre just around it. And then I always start at the valve end, and I'll just get one side of the tyre on. it should be pretty easy to do with your hands. If not, you might be staring at a very difficult tyre to put on. Okay. Okay, so that's one side of the tyre on. Nice and firm. Right, now, again, I'm going to start at the valve side, and then on the second side, I'm just going to start folding the tyre on. And it's going on. Now, what I want to do is I don't want to go all the way round. This is the way I do tubeless. I put all the sealant in at the beginning because I know that I've got a good pump which can inflate it without, with the sealant in. I can even leave the valve in. So for me it's just easier to put the sealant in now. You can then swish it around the tyre a little bit and that will help with that first initial sealing, which we'll see when we get to the inflation part of it. So what I've done is I've wrapped it pretty much all the way around. Hopefully you can focus on that. There's just a gap here which I'm going to use to put the sealant in. Do you know what? At this point I am going to go and get a different camera so I can give you multiple angles. Okay, sealant. Yeah, different amounts of sealant for different volume of tyre. Normally on like a road tyre, a 32mm, 28mm, I'd put like 30 to 40 millilitres of sealant in. As the tyre gets bigger, you want to put just a little bit more sealant in. So for a full-on mountain bike sized tyre, of which this is, you probably want to put like 90 to, yeah, I'd say 90 to 100 millilitres in. So I'm going to put like 90 millilitres in. There's usually a convenient mark on the back. That's at 400, so I'm going to put that down to 300. Give it a good shake beforehand. Now, I'm using Stan's race sealant at the moment, which is really good for sealing holes. Just the only thing to be aware of this one is it can dry out quite fast. That happened to me on TCR. After 3000k it dried out. So it is really, really good for a short amount of time. For the longer races, I now tend to use the Cafe Latex sealant, which is really good. So yeah, let's pour this in. And you just want to pour it into the bottom of the tyre. There we go. Now we've got a good amount of sealant sloshing around in there. Now the next job is to close off the rest of the tyre and swill the sealant around. So let's do that. Now, best way to do this. So right now I've got all the sealant in the bottom of the tyre, but it's closed off at the top. So I'm going to gradually spin that around until I've then got the valve towards the bottom. And now facing me is the open bit of the tyre. And then I just want to use this to then spill sealant everywhere. To then gradually, with my hands, I'm going to reach around the tyre and gradually close up the rest of the tyre whilst the sealant is safely at the bottom. Now, depending on the rim, depending on the tyre, you might find it easy just to put them on with your hands, which these seem pretty easy to do, which is great. That's going to be good in a race situation. There we go. It's on. If you do need to use a tyre lever, when you're using tubes, you obviously have to be really, really careful with a tyre lever. That when you're, putting it in to close it off, that you don't pinch the inner tube and put a hole in it. Obviously, with tubeless, you don't need to worry about that, so you can get quite free with it. Now, interestingly, that feels like it's all seated really nicely, so I don't think this is going to be hard to inflate. However, I'm still going to use the charge on the pump, so you get an idea of how that works. Now what I'm doing now is I'm just rotating the tyre, getting the sealant all the way around it, because that will help with that initial seating of the rim. Okay, so let's put that down there. I might lower the camera. Here's the Toe Peak, the Joe Below booster pump here. Now here you can see the charging canister. We've got the canister on the top, and this has just got an open like that and a close like that. So what we're going to do is just set it to close, which allows us to charge it up. It says charge. So I'm now going to inflate this to 160 psi, and then we're going to put it into the tyre. So let's pump. Okay, that's at 160 psi. Make sure the valve is undone. Clip that on nice and firmly, like that, and then take a deep breath. A little bit of patience. Okay, the pinging noises is the bead seating into place. Now what you can see here, I don't know if you can see that, but it's not quite sealed there yet. If I'll just wait, it's going to pop into place. Now let's check the other sides. Okay, what we're looking for here, all the way around, is you're looking for it to be nice and even here. What we can see just on this bit here is it's not quite even. So the bead has not quite taken there. So there's two ways around that. The first is to just gently squeeze it a little bit with your hands. And that's nearly there. It's not quite going, but luckily it's sealed. And if it doesn't quite work like that, the second way to do it is to then just top your tyre up as if you were pumping the tyres up normally. Now, when you're doing this, you're going to, I can get that on properly. When you're doing it like this, you are going to pump them up quite hard to get it to seat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep pumping until that bead snaps in place, which might be 30 psi, might be 60 psi. There we go, there's that little click. Okay, good, so that was the click I was after, and that just means it's all seated properly. Now I can set it to the pressure that I want, so it's actually pumped up a little bit harder, so it's at like 35 psi. I use the Zip SRAM tyre gauge app, which for these tyres suggests about 23 psi front, 25 psi rear. Now bearing in mind, these are fat mountain bike tyres, these are not skinny road tyres, so you want them a lot lower pressures, especially if you're going off-road. So let's get this set to the right pressure, and then let's get the other one done and get them on the bike. Right, that's the second one ready to pump up now. I put the sealant in, I put the tyre on. Just something to bear in mind, do check if there's a direction to the tyres, because there is a direction to these tyres and I completely forgot about it. So I've got the rear one on the wrong way round, which I would have changed now, but I'm going to be putting them on some different wheels in about a week's time. So we'll live with it for now, but just make sure you check the direction. And I always find it useful to look at which side the disc goes on. This one doesn't have a disc yet, so I'm going to fit that. Disc is always on the left, and then the wheel's rotating down in front of you. And so, or if it's that side, so the wheel's going to be rotating this way, and we can see here, and if you can see that, It says rotation direction. What an idiot. Right, now, I said that they went on quite easily, so what we're going to try now is, or not went on quite easily, but they seem to seat and fit nicely when you just pop them on before there's any pressure in them. So what we're going to do now is just pump it up without using the inflation chamber, just to see if it works, because if it does, then you don't have to pump. You can just pump it up, wait for it to ping, and you're all good. So we'll give that a go. Well, that was quite a subtle little ping. So, as before, I'm just going to look all the way around the edge and just make sure that the edge of the bead, there's just a little ridge here, and you want that to be sticking out evenly all the way around. So it's fine on that side. And yeah, we're all good. So that was actually super easy. Right, there we go. That's it. That is how to fit a tubeless tyre. Hopefully that seems straightforward for you all. If you've got any questions, leave them below. If you fit your own tyres and you struggle, then let me know what happens down below. And yeah, good luck with your journey into tubeless tyres. Okay, thanks everybody. See you later.